DETV News is powered by DART, Delaware's transit service. Moving forward.
Hey everybody, it's April from DETV, and guess where I am at? I am here. I am at Nerdit. Nerdit has so many things that we use on an everyday basis. Everything in this place is at half off on a retail level. Let me just show you some of the things that we found here at Nerdit. We got laptops, Apple products, Dell products, all for very low prices. We got the Acers here. How many parents really don't have time to do family trips or whatever? We go in our backyard, we fill up this pool, boom, and you got the goggles to go with the pool. I ain't worried about the kids getting chlorine in their eyes. This is super cool. This will keep the kids engaged. The colors are bright and energetic. So y'all looking for the summertime water shoes for the kids? Nerdit now got Nike water shoes. Beauty Rest mattresses. Who needs a new mattress? What are these? Twin size, full size mattresses? Brand new mattresses in the bags, y'all. 16-inch fans, 12-inch fans, 5,000 BTU air conditioners, y'all. Spider-Man. This one might not be here either. I might buy this for my granddaughter. We got the Christmas scented smell goods. You getting ready for the holidays. We got the security cameras. You need to make sure that the house is protected when you're away. You got the Ninja. You got the food processors going on in here. Wow. You want the kids to run outside. You know they tearing up some stuff and we've got to replace them shoes every couple of months. Come on out here. All right, guys, this is April in the Small Business Network here over at DETV. Where you want me to go next? Put it in the comments and I am there.
Tonight, Delaware lawmakers are eyeing deep cuts, what over 2,000 vacant jobs could mean for the state budget. Plus, a gun goes off inside a Delaware school, students are evacuated, and a staff member is injured. We have the latest. And a controversial medical aid in dying bill heads to the state Senate, what it means for terminally ill patients in the first state. Those stories, your first forecast, and sports coming up straight ahead. DETV News starts now. Good evening and welcome to DETV News for Thursday, April 10th. I'm Matt Ford. Here's what's making headlines today across the first state. It was a full house at Legislative Hall in Dover today as Governor Matt Meyer delivered his first State of the State address. In a speech that was part policy pitch and part rallying cry, he laid out his vision for the first state's Future One focused on equity, education, and economic resilience.
We are indeed a state of neighbors. If our neighbors are under threat, we are all under threat. Because we don't run from a challenge. We're going to roll up our sleeves and we're going to get to work. We don't make promises, we make plans, and we turn those plans into progress.
Delaware's new governor took center stage at Legislative Hall, delivering his inaugural State of the State with a message of urgency and opportunity. The former county executive took aim at federal cuts that he says are hurting Delaware families, and he vowed to protect the state's most vulnerable. His proposed budget includes sweeping investments in education, healthcare, and housing, from boosting teacher pay and childhood literacy to eliminating $50 million in medical debt to fast-tracking affordable housing development.
Let me take a moment to speak directly to those in this chamber offering unconditional support to the current leadership in Washington. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot offer your full-throated support for a federal administration that is slashing hundreds of millions of dollars in critical funds to our state and promoting tariffs that are literally crippling our economy. And then in the very next sentence, rise in opposition to responsible and hard decisions we're making here in Delaware to meet those challenges. In other words, you can't give more fuel to the arsonist with one hand and then with the other hand point your finger disapprovingly and say we're not putting out the fires fast enough.
Governor Meyer also spotlighted some early wins, executive orders on transparency and climate resilience, plus a unique farm-to-pharmacy pilot connecting nutrition to healthcare outcomes. He called for expanded medical training in state, a new Office of Suicide Prevention, and a cabinet-level advocate for veterans. The governor closed his address this afternoon by calling on lawmakers to deliver, quote, not just promises, but results. Lawmakers in Dover have both chambers now until the end of June to pass governor's proposed budget. You can find a breakdown of the key proposals at governor.de.gov. And in other news today, at least 8 international students at the University of Delaware have had their visas revoked by the Trump administration. The university says it was notified through a federal database but given no explanations for the terminations. The students must now leave the United States, part of a wider crackdown that has seen hundreds of student visas revoked nationwide. Now, so far, these reflect only a small portion of an estimated 1.5 million international students studying in the U.S., or some 2,400 in Newark alone. UD says it's offering legal and emotional support to students. Now, Delaware State University in Dover has not yet said if any of its students have been affected. With the proposed over $6.5 billion budget and a potential deficit ahead, Delaware lawmakers are eyeing cost-cutting measures. Representative Danny Short suggests eliminating over 2,200 vacant state positions, estimating more than $40 million in savings without layoffs. The proposal comes amid concerns over increased spending on teacher salaries, housing, and health care, along with new tax brackets for high earners. Democrats, including Governor Matt Meyer, do remain skeptical. Shell comes with vacant positions that won't help Delaware thrive, his office stated. Some lawmakers urge caution, calling for more data before any cuts occur. In other news today, 8 buses of students from Las Americas Aspira Academy were evacuated to Ogletown Baptist Church this Thursday morning after a staff member accidentally discharged a firearm in the school. State police say the staff member reportedly shot himself in the leg around 7 a.m. and was treated with a tourniquet. Police say there was no threat to students or public safety. Helicopters and troopers did respond, and the school asked the parents to come by 10:30 in the morning. Children began reuniting with their families there. And first responders spent nearly 2 hours extricating an 18-year-old woman who was trapped in her car after a crash with an Appoquinimink High School school bus Wednesday morning. The accident occurred around 8 a.m. at Route 896 and Brennan Boulevard. That bus, carrying 14 students, had no injuries, but the 75-year-old bus driver did sustain serious neck, back, and possible internal injuries. The woman was critically injured and airlifted to Christiana Hospital. Police continue to investigate this incident, with multiple lanes were closed most of the morning. And a 32-year-old man shot by an unknown number of suspects in Seaford Tuesday evening has died, we're learning, marking the city's second homicide of the year. Police responded to Clarence Street shortly before 6 p.m., finding the man with a gunshot wound. Despite life-saving efforts, he was pronounced dead at the hospital. Delaware State Police Homicide Unit is investigating this incident, and now this follows the March 12th death just about a month ago of a man who police say was fatally shot in what they call a dice game dispute. Anyone with information is urged to contact police or Delaware Crime Stoppers. And a 22-year-old man is facing felony charges tonight after police say that he hit and killed a 15-year-old girl in Wilmington, then sped off. Elijah Davis was speeding nearly 3 times the limit, doing 72 miles per hour in a 25 miles per hour speeding zone when he struck Zariah Patterson just after 5 a.m. Monday morning. Police say Davis was driving his mother's car and fled the scene. He later admitted to the crash after his mother called 911. Davis is charged with manslaughter and is being held on $55,000 cash bond today. Back to Legislative Hall, a bill legalizing medical aid in dying here in Delaware is advancing to the Senate for a final vote after clearing the House 21-17 last month. The measure allows terminally ill adults with less than 6 months to live to self-administer life-ending medication after multiple physician confirmations. Supporters cite compassion and choice. Opponents, including major medical groups, voice some ethical concerns about this. The bill filed in the Senate late last year before being vetoed. Governor Matt Meyer has pledged to sign it if it is passed. A close vote is expected again in the Senate. And the Affordable Housing Production Task Force unveiled 9 recommendations to address Delaware's housing crisis, emphasizing zoning reform and increased housing density. The Delaware State Housing Authority Director Matthew Heckles says that current zoning encourages unaffordable, sprawling homes The task force calls for more diverse options like apartments and townhomes. It also recommends a $100 million annual state investment and incentive for developers. Heckles praised Governor Meyer's budget, calling it the largest housing commitment in state history. In relative news, a new bill introduced here in Delaware seeks to extend the time between property reassessments from 5 to 10 years. It's House Bill 109, sponsored by Representative Kevin Hensley and Senator David Wilson. It would aim to amend the state law to reduce frequency of county reassessments. Wilson argues that 5-year intervals are excessive, saying that values barely change in that amount of time. He also believes that more frequent reassessments complicate school tax referendums. The current schedule was mandated after a 2020 court ruling. House Bill 109 was introduced just on April 8th and awaits a committee hearing in the House within 12 days. So is Delaware making the most of its federal funding? Well, Auditor Lydia York says yes. Her office just released the 2024 audit reviewing more than $4.2 billion in federal funds. She says the biggest spending areas were education, Medicaid, and public health, including some leftover COVID relief. The report found nearly all funds are being used responsibly to support vulnerable Delawareans. York does warn, however, that future federal cuts could put key programs like education and Medicaid at risk. And should Delaware move from statewide primaries from September to April? Well, lawmakers are debating it yet again. The House passed a bill Tuesday that would shift the primary to the same date as the presidential primary, the 4th Tuesday in April, so that's up a couple months. Supporters say it would save the state $1.5 million and reduce voter confusion. The bill now heads to the Senate, where similar efforts have failed previously. To Wilmington now, where Fire Chief John Looney has announced the promotion of Andre Cooper to Deputy Chief of Fire Prevention and City Fire Marshal. Cooper is a 32-year veteran of the department and most recently served as battalion chief. His promotion triggered a series of leadership changes. Captain Michael Casara moves up to battalion chief. Lieutenant Andrew Bowerson is now a captain, and senior firefighter Michael Wikocheritz has been promoted to lieutenant. And Delaware's Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Control, or DNREC, has launched a drought tracker website to raise awareness about water conditions. The site features county precipitation data, expert analysis, and drought outlooks. It also looks to neighboring states' monitors as well. March saw above average rainfall with improving groundwater and long-term drought protections. This tool, developed with the State Geological Survey and University of Delaware Center for Environmental Monitoring, aims to help manage and understand drought impacts throughout the state of Delaware. And speaking of precipitation, let's check in with our favorite weather girl, Shakara Denise, to see what the rest of the week and the weekend has in store for us. Hey there, Shakara.
Hey, DETV fam. If you've been wondering what's going on with the weather lately, you are not alone. It's been a real roller coaster. There's sunshine one day, jackets, coats, and rain gear the next, and this week has been no different. It's been cold, windy, and rain showers off and on, but hang in there because we are slowly warming up and we've got brighter spring-like weather on the horizon for next week. But first, let's talk about this weekend and what you can get into around the first state. For Feel Good Friday, expect a breezy, chilly day with some rain. Highs will be around 47 degrees and lows around 42 degrees. Saturday will be about the same, windy with periods of rain. Highs will be around 48 degrees and lows of 43 degrees. So if you're going to be out driving, out and about, running errands, please be careful as wet roads can be slippery, so you want to reduce speed and maintain a safe distance. And wrapping up the weekend on Sunday, it seems to be the pick of the week. You can expect clouds to start, followed by a brightening sky and warmer temps in the afternoon. Highs will be around 58 degrees and low temps around 44 degrees. Now, let's see what's happening across our gorgeous state. If you're interested in the arts and couldn't check out the play Steel Magnolias last week, you are in luck because there are still showtimes this weekend. Come watch the play presented by the Chapel Street Players about all the ladies in Louisiana that come to have their hair done at Trudy's. Every one of these women has a story that you don't want to miss. Visit their website for tickets and showtimes. You can also check out Dear Evan Hansen at the Playhouse in Wilmington. Experience the acclaimed musical that delves into themes of connection and identity. This play is suitable for ages 12 and up, and for more info, visit the Grand Opera House website. Now, if you are down in Kent County, visit the Harvest Ridge Winery food truck competition in Marydale. Enjoy offerings from over 25 food trucks, live music, and a kid zone, so there will be fun for the entire family. And down in Sussex County, don't forget about the Lewis Tulip Celebration that I mentioned last week. Stroll through vibrant tulip displays and participate in various floral-themed activities. There you have it, DETV fam. Please, as always, stay safe, have fun, and enjoy the weekend. And don't forget to tag us in all your weekend adventures. Back to you, Matt.
All right, Shakara, thank you so much. We will see you next week. In other headlines today, a new bill would require voters in Delaware to show a state-issued photo ID at the polls. House Bill 112, introduced Tuesday by Representative Brian Shoup, aims to prevent voter fraud and update voter rolls. Shoup says the bill would offer a free state ID to first-time applicants to reduce cost barriers to this. But the ACLU of Delaware says the measure could still create hurdles for some voters in the state. The bill would be reviewed by the House Elections Committee this coming May. And speaking of elections, to Newark, where Deputy Mayor Travis McDermott is moving on up. He was elected Tuesday night as the city's next mayor. The Newcastle County Police Lieutenant won with nearly 68% of the vote, defeating University of Delaware professor Michael O'Neill. McDermott has served on city council there in Newark since 2017 and became deputy mayor last year. He will now serve a 3-year term. In the 1st District, incumbent John Shushik has been re-elected, beating 3 challengers. Council members Corinna Ford and Gwendolyn Creasy were unopposed and will serve 2 more years. Down to Lewis now, where Camp Thoros, a state-approved tent city near Lewis for unhoused workers, remains closed today after county permitting stalled its planned March 15th reopening. That camp, located on a former state police site along Route 1, operated last fall before closing on November 30th. Director Mike Agu says that the new delay has left residents in encampments despite rising local shelter needs. Sussex County Council will review Thoros' request on June 17th. Agnew, who had equipment and vendor support ready, is urging state officials to approve interim use. So far, no response has been given. And to Rehoboth, where demolition of the former Securo Motel and the North Boardwalk Grotto Pizza is expected to begin within days. The city gave early approval after an engineering report found that the motel actually had hazardous structural issues, including cracked masonry and deteriorating supports. Crews will start with a small beach shop on Baltimore Avenue, followed by the motel and Grotto Pizza. Work will pause during the busy summer season to avoid disruptions, then resume again in the fall with the demolition of more boardwalk properties, including the Core Brothers stand and the former Dolly's building. The project, led by Onyx Group and Grotto Pizza, will redevelop the area into a 60-room hotel with retail space, an underground garage, and an outdoor pool. Grotto will reopen in the former Dolly's location. And heads up, Artesian Water is asking Delaware regulators for a nearly 13% rate hike. That's right, the request filed on April 4th with the Public Service Commission would raise the average monthly bill to about by $7 to a total of about $60. The company says rising costs for electricity, water treatment, cybersecurity, and PFAS cleanup are driving this increase. Artesian serves about 300,000 customers in Delaware, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. If approved, a temporary hike could begin as early as this June. And Delaware State University is requesting $125 million for 4 years to upgrade athletic facilities and an additional $10 million for its operations. The plan includes a $25 million indoor field house, $10 million for stadium and downtown upgrades, and $90 million for a convocation center. Athletic Director Tony Tucker called the first project of DSU's first ever athletic transformation, stressing outdated facilities hinder competitiveness. Officials presented the plan to the bond committee last week. Senator Trey Parody acknowledged the need, but but expressed funding concerns. The fiscal year 2026 budget vote is expected in June. Now, while DSU looks to the future with major plans to transform its athletic facilities, high school athletes across the first state are already making headlines of their own this spring. With that, let's head on over to Nick with the latest. Hey there, Nick.
Thank you, Matt. And now let's get you updated on our local high school spring sports. And first, we start from scores with this week across the board, courtesy of the DIAA. We're going to kick it off with girls soccer and scores from this week as follows on your screen right now. So here are your scores for girls soccer this past week. Brandywine getting a win alongside Red Lion. Wilmington Christian conquered. You see all of these scores from girls soccer. Again, these are just from April 7th and April 8th. So you see Delmar 2-0 over Sussex Tech. St. Mark's 4-0 over Wilmington Friends. And again, some of those other scores in girls soccer. We're going to get to all the rankings and everything here in just a little bit. So from the pitch now to the lacrosse fields, here are your scores for both boys and girls lacrosse. And let's look at the ladies first. So ladies lacrosse scores on your screen, courtesy once again of the DIAA. And again, you take a look at some of these here. Boys to follow: Milford over St. George's, Sussex Academy over Dover, Queen Anne's gets the win over Cesar Rodney, Newark Charter, Apo, DMA, and Archmere all get wins this week, alongside Tower Hill, Wilmington Friends, St. Andrews, Indian River, and Caravel. So now let's jump to the boys side of things and take a look at our boys lacrosse scores, and they are as followed here as well. Sally's, again, you'll see the ranking still sitting number 1, but that is still to come. Caravel gets a win. Brandywine over First Aid Military, Apo over St. George's, and then DMA, St. Andrews, and Wilmington Friends with wins. Cape Henlopen 8-3 over Out-of-State Broadneck, and then Charter 15-9 over Newark Charter in a battle of Wilmington versus Newark Charter. Now let's check out our tennis scores from this week as we head into the weekend. Our first look at some of our tennis results so far here in the spring of 2025. Let's dive into that now. Our first taste of tennis here in the spring. You'll have both boys and girls on your screen now. Boys to the left, girls to your right. Brandywine over Dickinson, AI over Conrad. Some other scores from boys: St. Andrews 5-0 over Sanford, Odessa, Archmere, and Sally's getting wins. And then over on the girls' side, Brandywine, Conrad, Concord getting wins. Middletown over Newark, Polytech over Lake Forest, Dover over Smyrna in a 3-2 battle downstate. And then you can see some of those other scores to round out this week of our boys and girls results there on the tennis courts. So we are cruising through all these scores now, but let's keep it going. Now to boys volleyball, your first scores update of the season there on the hardwood with the boys volleyball program. So let's take a look now at some scores from April 7th and April 8th, and then again, some rankings coming a little bit later on. Your boys volleyball scores: St. George's over McCain, Dover gets a win over Delmarva Christian, Odyssey over Aspira, Conrad over Brandywine, Cesar Rodney, Brandywine, MOG Charter, and Apo with a 3-0 set victory over St. Mark's. Archmere, Sally's 3-0, Indian River, Delmarva Christian, all getting wins. You see those wins and results on your screen. Newark Charter 3-0 over St. George's. So you got a lot of that on the hardwood there with boys volleyball. And with the Masters getting officially underway this week, let's take a look at our golf results as well. We are going to touch all these spring sports results. So here we go to the golf scores. Again, on your screen, match scores: Newark Charter, Middletown, St. Mark's, and you have the numbers and the results for you there as well. So take a look and soak those in. These are the match scores for golf here of April 7th and April 8th. Well, we're not done yet. We've got 2 more sports to get to. We're going to finish off with softball and baseball. They're heating up as well. So here's how your favorite teams did this week on the diamond and in the circle. And let's get it started here with softball. So boys baseball and girls softball are going to bring us to a close here on our spring results. Softball up first. As you see, Padua, Concord, Mount Pleasant, and Brandywine getting wins. Archmere and Conrad, Apo, Delcastle, and Middletown, Cape Henlopen, Laurel, Lake Forest, and Sussex Tech. Only a few games that were relatively close here this week over there in the circle. And now let's head to your boys baseball scores. Again, some great action taking place here later in the week, but coming here early in the week. Your results: McCain over Glasgow, William Penn 8-0 over Mount Pleasant, Archmere and St. Elizabeth's. Archmere gets a big win. Middletown shuts out Odessa 9-0. Apo 17-1 over Newark, and then you catch some of those other teams: St. Mark's, Tower Hill, Lake Forest, Sanford, Caravel, and Sally's, your defending state champs, all getting victories. So did you soak it all up? Did you get all of these results, all of these scores from across the board? We touched on every sport here in the spring, and with all those results comes some new rankings here. These are courtesy of 302 Sports, so now we're going to reverse it. We're going to begin with baseball, and here is your top 10. It looks as follows: Cape Henlopen, Sussex Tech, Sussex Central, Conrad, St. Mark's, St. George's, Dover, DMA, Concord, and Sanford, your top 10 for high school boys Delaware baseball. Now we're going to head to softball. Here's your top 10 for girls softball here in the state of Delaware. It begins atop with a new face, the Lake Forest Spartans, followed by Cape Henlopen, Sussex Academy, Polytech, Appoquinimink, and then Del Mar, DMA, Caravel, Indian River, and Laurel. Caravel came in at the number 1 spot. A tough start for them. They fall down to number 7. Some changes in our lacrosse rankings as we head there now for both boys and girls. And on the boys' side, it starts, of course, with Salesianum. They're your top team at number 2, Cape Henlopen, followed by Archmere Friends, Caesar Rodney, Tatnall, Smyrna, Sanford, First State Military Academy, and Appo. And now we're going to head to the girls' side of things here. It starts up top with Cape Henlopen. Cape Henlopen at number 1, CR, Friends, Tower Hill, Sussex Academy, Archmere, Caravel, Concord, Odessa, and Indian River. And finally, we're going to get to the pitch for both girls soccer's Division I and Division II. We start with Division I, and Appo taking that top spot so far. Wilmington Charter, Del Castle, Middletown, Padua, Caesar Rodney, Cape Henlopen, St. George's, Polytech, and Sussex Central rounding out your top 10. And we're going to finish it off with Division II. Sitting at the top is the Caravel Buccaneers. St. Mark's right there at that 2 spot. Sussex Academy, Newark Charter, and Archmere rounding out your top 5. And then Friends, Del Mar, Indian River, Conrad, and Wilmington Christian taking you home there, rounding out your top 10. Well, there you have it. A bunch of results for this week for every spring sport and those rankings to go along with it. So, Matt, we're going to send it back to you. High school spring sports heating up here early.
Nick, thank you so much. Have a great weekend. We'll see you right here next week. In other headlines today, Delaware's Office of Animal Welfare has partnered with DocuPet to launch a modernized dog licensing and lost pet service, available statewide as of April 9th. The program offers digital pet profiles, unique ID tags, and 24/7 support to reunite lost pets with their owners. Licensing is required for dogs 6 months or older. Late fees for expired licenses are waived now through July 15th of this year to encourage compliance and reduce shelter populations. And before we leave you, are you feeling lucky? Well, starting April 8th, Mega Millions ticket prices have jumped, so you're gonna have to dig a little bit deeper in your pocket, from $2 to $5 across the country. Officials say the hike boosts jackpots and improves winning odds, now 1 in 290 million. That's quite some odds there. But some Maryland players say the increase makes the game less accessible, some saying it's downright ridiculous and call it pathetic. Others support the change, saying that if you win, you certainly end up getting more. That's very true. Well, if you play, good luck to you. That's going to do it for this edition of DETV News. Be sure to follow us all along your favorite social media platforms for more updates on what's happening around the First State. And if you have a comment, question, or a news tip, we want to hear from you. Send it our way. Contact us at press@detvch.com. For Shakara, Nick, and all of us here at DETV, I'm Matt Ford. Have a wonderful evening. We'll see you right back here next week. Good night. We don't talk about prostate cancer enough, and it's the most diagnosed form of cancer and the second most common cause of cancer death among Black men in both Delaware and the United States. Approximately 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in their lifetime, but just by asking your healthcare provider if you should get a screening could help you detect prostate cancer early and save your life. So let's talk about it. Talk to your healthcare provider today about a prostate cancer screening if you are 40 years of age or older, or have a family history of prostate cancer. If you don't have insurance, or if your insurance doesn't pay for cancer screenings, Screening for Life may provide you with the screenings that you need. and nurse navigators make this process easier. To learn more, visit healthydelaware.org/prostate or call 211. Ask your healthcare provider about a prostate cancer screening, and you're asking for so much more.
My name is Jason Aviles, and I am the founder and owner of Fly Yogi, and I'm here to share with you some tips to be able to help fight opioid addiction. Opioid addiction is a real growing problem here in America, and I'm here to share with you some tips that you can be able to integrate into your everyday life to really fight against opioid addiction. One of the first things is redeveloping your mindset. One of the practices that I like to use daily is meditation. And what meditation does is it brings you clarity of mind, and it helps keep you grounded, and it improves your ability to make decisions that you are going to benefit from. A lot of the time we find that addiction is rooted in our mindset. It's rooted in how we think and how we perceive, and therefore how we act. So this is a really good way to help fight against that energy of addiction. The second thing is improving your lifestyle through diet and exercise. At the very root of addiction, there is substances within the body that's causing the addiction on a physical level. When we begin to introduce healthier foods, plant-based foods, we begin to remove and detox the substances that are in our body that's causing and attracting the addiction. So through incorporating more fresh fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, grains, and even drinking water on a daily basis, you're going to put your body in a state where it's going to be able to fight the root causes of these addictions. The second part is exercise. Exercise is good for mood. It's good for energy. It's good to increase vitality. It's good to get your heart pumping and get your blood flowing and get oxygen moving throughout the body. So through engaging in physical exercise, complemented by incorporating healthier foods, you're putting your body and your mind in a state where it does not want what's causing these things that are manifesting negatively in your life. So addiction can really be decreased by just incorporating a healthier lifestyle through diet and nutrition, exercise, and then also making sure that you're tackling the mind through mindset, through meditation.